back on the Sports Zone. I am Mike Aglialoro. Once again, thanks to everyone who subscribed to the YouTube channel Mike Ags 121. Don't forget to subscribe under the video if you haven't done so, and check us out on thisissportszone.com for more. So we're here for week 7 of fantasy football with Start 'em Up. We went 6-4 last week. We are now 24-28 on the season. So let's try to get back to 500 this week. We're going to start with the quarterbacks. And the matchup, I think, has blowout potential written all over it. You're starting just about any Baltimore Raven player you own this week, led by Joe Flacco at quarterback. For 7,700 on FanDuel.com, he is coming off his 5-touchdown performance in the first half last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Falcons' defense is worse than the Buccaneers on the road, as we have seen thus far. So while you never want to predict he's going to have back-to-back 5-touchdown games, it's definitely a possibility in Baltimore, the way the offense is playing and the way the Falcons are playing right now. So you want to start him. He's a great option this week. You also want to start Carson Palmer, who returned last week for the Arizona Cardinals. They are going to Oakland this week to play the Raiders. Palmer didn't look great last week, but he did have over 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. Oakland defense was picked apart last week by Phillip Rivers. They did allow over 20 fantasy points to Ryan Tannehill before that. So while he may not have a Phillip Rivers day, you're looking somewhere between the 20 and the 31 points they give up to Tannehill and Phillip Rivers. So that's a quality start right there, especially at the price, which is $7,300 at FanDuel. We'll move on to the running backs. We'll go back to the Baltimore game against the Falcons and Justin Forsett, who's become the lead running back for the Ravens after Ray Rice's departure. He had over 100 yards last week. He had 2 straight games with a touchdown before that. So he's getting over double-digit fantasy points. The only real reason Bernard Pierce was involved last week was because it was in the second half when the game was already well in hand. So you got to like Forsett's chances to top double-digit points for the 4th week in a row this week. The other guy I would start at running back, I'm a huge fan of Andre Ellington. He finally looks to be some sort of healthy, even though he will be bothered by a foot injury throughout the rest of the season. He's had over double-digit points the last couple weeks, and against an Oakland defense that really is one of the weaker defenses in the league against the run. Look for him to get over 100 all-purpose yards. I look for him and Carson Palmer to hook up for at least one short score as well. Or maybe it's one short pass completion that he turns into a 60-yard gain, which he has been known to do. We'll move on to wide receiver. I like Sammy Watkins of Buffalo, Odell Beckham Jr. replacing Victor Cruz of the Giants, and Torrey Smith of the aforementioned Baltimore Ravens. Once again, you target that matchup against the Falcons. Torrey Smith broke out in a big way last week, had 2 touchdowns, over 50 yards, still outscored by the other Smith, Steve Smith, when all was said and done. Could this finally be the week that changes against the terrible Falcons defense in Baltimore? As for Odell Beckham Jr., while I am a fan of Ruben Randle stepping up and becoming the number 1 wide receiver, the fact is that offense needs a big playmaker with Victor Cruz now out for the season. Randle is more of a possession receiver, a guy who will get you 10 catches a game, but only get you about 80, 90 yards while doing it. Beckham is the type of guy who can catch maybe 5 or 6 passes in a game, go for over 150 yards, and bring in 1 or 2 long scores. And the Dallas defense, of course, it has been good, but if you're a Dallas fan like me, you really are not trusting this 5-1 start, given they've been 8-8 the last 3 seasons. Don't tell me it's not out of the realm of possibility that they don't go 3-7 the rest of the year, started by this Giants game. I don't like this week, and it's 6,200. I think Odell Beckham Jr. is very reasonably priced. You take him, you expect at least 1 long score, maybe more, before the Cowboys finally figure it out and put some emphasis on him through their secondary. And lastly, we'll go with Sammy Watkins Jr. The rookie has been up and down this season for the Bills, but he does look to be developing a much better rapport with Kyle Orton, now the starter, than he did with E.J. Manuel, even though he was on Revis Island last week. I look for him to have a pretty good week against the Vikings secondary that has been hit or miss this season. It is in Buffalo, so they do have the home field advantage. I don't see it completely being out of the question that he tops 80, 90 yards with at least 1 score. Moving on to the tight end, I am a fan of Dwayne Allen of the Indianapolis Colts going against the Cincinnati Bengals in what should be a shootout of epic proportions. Both these teams' offense have been clicking on all cylinders, even in the Bengals' case with A.J. Green missing time and Mohamed Sanu and Brendan Tate stepping up. So I look for heavy offensive numbers from all the major players, whether it's Andrew Luck or Andy Dalton or T.Y. Hilton, or in this case, Dwayne Allen, who has become one of Luck's top goal line options over the first 6 weeks of the season. He has 4 touchdowns through the first 6 games. I look for him to get at least 70 reception yards this game in Indianapolis, going against a soft Bengals defense, at least against the tight end. Dwayne Allen is very cheaply priced at $5,700, and I definitely think you're going to get a return on that investment this week. Lastly, we're going to look at the special performances this week, and I like Trey Mason of the St. Louis Rams going against the Seattle Seahawks, and I like Davante Adams at wide receiver of the Green Bay Packers at home against the Carolina Panthers, priced at only $5,200 on FanDuel. Mason's only priced at $5,500. We saw the Rams go to a 3 running back committee last week. Zach Stacy was really ineffective, getting only 11 touches last week. He did lead all Rams rushers in touches, but he did the least with them as Benny Cunningham got the goal line touch, scored a touchdown. Trey Mason had only 6 touches on the game, but he put up 57 yards. And if they give him more of a workload this week against the Seahawks defense that can be beat against the run, I look for Mason to capitalize on that. Talked a lot about him in the preseason, and I still expect him to carve out a very large role in this Rams offense. At $5,500, he's your steal running back. As for Davante Adams, I look for Aaron Rodgers and company to have a big day against the weak Panthers secondary. Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb are obviously going to put up their points, but Davante Adams has been carving out his own role as the number 3 wide receiver. 7 receptions for 77 yards last week. Look for that to continue and look for at least 1 touchdown at $5,200. That's your bargain wide receiver this week. So once again, at quarterback, I like Carson Palmer of the Arizona Cardinals and Joe Flacco of the Baltimore Ravens. At running back, you're sticking with the Ravens and Justin Forsett. And you're also going to go with Andre Ellington of the Arizona Cardinals. At wide receiver, you want to go with Sammy Watkins of the Bills, Odell Beckham Jr. of the Giants, and Torrey Smith of the Baltimore Ravens. At tight end, you go with Dwayne Allen of the Indianapolis Colts. And the special performances this week at running back, it's Trey Mason of the St. Louis Rams. And at wide receiver, Davante Adams of the Green Bay Packers. Once again, thanks to everyone who subscribed to the YouTube channel Mike Ags 121. Don't forget to subscribe under the video if you haven't done so. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at WeAreSportsZone. Send us any questions and comments you may have. Thanks for watching, folks. For This is SportsZone, I am Mike Aglialoro. We will see you next time, guys.